No one could have guessed what really happened to the two climbers who vanished on El Capitan 3 years ago. At first, it was just another daring climb on one of the world's most challenging granite walls, a place that has tested the limits of countless adventurers. Friends and family believed they were prepared for every risk, but when their ropes were found dangling halfway up the sheer cliff face, and their campsite abandoned with gear still packed, it was clear something had gone terribly wrong. Search. Teams combed the rugged terrain for weeks, battling storms and treacherous drops. But not a single sign of the missing climbers turned up. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said they fell. Others whispered about secret caves and hidden crevices that could swallow a person whole. As time passed, hope faded and the mountain kept its secret. Their names became another mystery tied to El Capitan's unforgiving stone. Then, just months ago, a group of hikers stumbled upon something buried under a pile of loose rocks at the base of a rarely explored ledge. What they uncovered was so unexpected that even seasoned investigators were left speechless. It wasn't just the remains that told a story, but the strange items found beside them, items that raised more questions than they answered. Now, with fresh evidence finally shedding light on those missing days, new theories are swirling about what really happened on that climb. Was it an accident? A desperate escape from something or someone they feared? Or is there a darker truth hidden in the shadows of El Capitan's towering cliffs? Stay with us as we piece together the final days of the climbers who vanished, and reveal why what was found still sends chills through those who dared to look closer before they disappeared. Ethan Miller and Jake Lawson were known among the climbing community for pushing limits. Both in their early 30s, they had spent years traveling to the world's toughest peaks. El Capitan was supposed to be another feather in their cap, a final test before they planned to write a book about the most dangerous climbs in North America. Friends remember them as fearless but careful, always double-checking gear, always leaving detailed plans behind. But on that cold morning 3 years ago, something made them break every rule they lived by. Their last message was a short text to a fellow climber: "Weather looks clear. See you in 3 days." After that, nothing. Park rangers said the weather turned rough faster than predicted. But experienced climbers like Ethan and Jake knew how to handle sudden storms. The fact that their ropes were found still secure suggested they didn't fall by mistake, they left mid-climb, or something forced them to. But what? Locals in Yosemite Valley have whispered about strange echoes in the night and shadows, moving along the cliff face when storms roll in. Some old-timers claim there are hidden tunnels inside El Capitan, sealed off during old mining days. Of course, no one really believed those stories until the hikers found that strange stash beside the remains. A broken camera, half buried, journals with pages torn out, and a climbing harness that didn't belong to either Ethan or Jake. Investigators kept the new findings quiet at first, hoping to piece together the truth. But rumors spread fast, and soon everyone wanted to know what really happened up there. Did the climbers find something they weren't supposed to? Were they running from someone? Or did El Capitan itself hide a secret no one was ready to face? The answers may be closer than anyone thinks. When word got out about the strange clues found with Ethan and Jake, people close to them began sharing stories they'd kept quiet. One of Jake's old climbing partners, Maya, came forward saying Jake had called her just days before they left for Yosemite. He sounded distracted, almost paranoid. He told her someone had been following them during practice climbs near Bishop, a man who asked odd questions about hidden routes up El Capitan. Maya thought he was joking at first, but now she can't shake the feeling it was a warning she ignored. Meanwhile, a park ranger named Luis, who'd helped search for the men 3 years ago, remembers something that never made it into the official report. He and his team found footprints far from the usual trails, leading into a narrow canyon that locals say is cursed. The prints vanished at a sheer rock wall, but Luis swears he heard voices echoing through the canyon that night, even though they were miles from any camp. He was told to drop it. Just stress and exhaustion, they said, but he's never really believed that. To make things stranger, the journals the hikers found weren't all ruined. A few pages talked about an old map Ethan found online, a rumored shortcut up El Capitan that only a handful of climbers had ever tried. Some pages mentioned symbols marked on the rocks, guiding the way to a hidden ledge where they planned to camp. But the last entry cuts off mid-sentence, as if Ethan stopped writing suddenly. Now, it's more people asking questions. Investigators are looking into whether someone else was on that wall with them, someone who didn't want them to find whatever they were after. But no one can agree on what that could be. An undiscovered cave, an old stash from decades ago, or something buried deeper in the granite that the mountain still refuses to give up. The truth might be hidden in the shadows, waiting for someone brave enough to face it. As rumors grew wilder, a small team of climbers and documentary filmmakers decided to retrace Ethan and Jake's final route up El Capitan. They carried the torn pages from the journal, hoping to match the strange symbols carved into the granite. Locals warned them not to go near the old canyon, but they pushed on, driven by the same mix of curiosity and fear that once pulled Ethan and Jake up those sheer walls. On their second night, the team set up camp on a narrow ledge, just like the one described in Ethan's notes. The wind howled through the cracks, carrying voices that no one could quite explain. One of the climbers, Adam, claimed he saw flickers of light above them, like a headlamp moving where no climber should be at that hour. When they called out, the lights vanished. By morning, they found a fresh rope anchored to the rock, but none of them had touched it. Meanwhile, back in Yosemite Valley, Luis the ranger dug deeper into old park records. Hidden in dusty boxes were reports of other disappearances dating back decades, all near the same ledge Ethan marked in his journal. Some of the missing were never found. A few who came back refused to speak about what they'd seen. Police realized this wasn't just about Ethan and Jake anymore. Maya joined the search team, bringing a recording Jake had left on her old phone. In it, his voice trembles as he talks about a narrow passage they found behind a loose rock face, a tunnel that seemed to go inside El Capitan itself. He talks about a cold wind, faint markings on the walls, and a sense that they were not alone. The recording cuts off with a sharp gasp and a muffled noise that no one can explain. Now, standing on the same ledge where so many secrets hide, the team must decide if they'll push through the passage that took Ethan and Jake or turn back while they still can. The mountain looms over them, silent and ancient, waiting to reveal its truth or swallow theirs. As the team stood on that narrow ledge, staring at the jagged crack in the rock where the tunnel might begin, Adam's radio crackled with static. At first, they thought it was just wind interference. But then a voice broke through, faint but clear enough to freeze everyone in place. It sounded like Ethan, or maybe Jake. No one could tell for sure. The voice repeated the same few words. Turn back, don't. Then silence. Maya felt her chest tighten. She replayed Jake's recording in her mind, comparing every word. It was the same tone, the same panic. Louise, listening from the base camp over the radio, urged them to leave it alone. But the team had come too far to stop now. They rigged new ropes and pushed deeper into the crack, their headlamps throwing long shadows that danced along the cold granite walls. Inside the tunnel, they found old climbing gear wedged into crevices, gear that matched none of their own, rusted and covered in dust. One of the team members, Leah, spotted strange symbols scratched into the stone, just like the ones Ethan described. But these went deeper, twisting into symbols none of them could read. Then came the second shock. Tucked into a small hollow was a battered backpack. And inside, it was a notebook that didn't belong to Ethan or Jake. The name on the cover was dated back almost 40 years, belonging to another climber who'd vanished on El Capitan in the late 1980s. His last known route had never been found. The pages inside were stained, but clear enough to read. They talked about a hidden chamber inside the rock, a chamber where he claimed he'd found evidence of something buried long before any modern climber ever set foot here. But his last words were smeared in black ink, as if he'd tried to scratch them out before he vanished. Outside the tunnel, the wind picked up, howling through the granite as if warning them away. With every step forward, the team knew they were chasing the same shadow Ethan and Jake once followed, but now the stakes felt higher, the darkness thicker. Somewhere ahead, the truth waited, half buried in cold stone, ready to change everything they thought they knew about El Capitan. Deeper inside the tunnel, the air turned colder, and the walls seemed to close in around the team. Each footstep echoed like a warning. The symbols carved into the granite grew thicker, forming a path that led them to a hidden chamber Ethan and Jake had hinted at but never fully described. When their headlamps lit up the chamber, they all froze. At the center was a small, ancient alcove cut deep into the rock. Inside it, wrapped in layers of rotting canvas, was a metal box covered in markings none of them recognized. Adam reached for it, but Maya stopped him. She noticed a scrap of Ethan's torn journal wedged under the box. On it, in hurried handwriting, Ethan had written, "It's not just a cave. It's a warning." Ignoring the chill that crept up her spine, Maya lifted the box and slowly pried it open. Inside were yellowed papers, old maps, and a handful of strange stone fragments that seemed almost too perfectly shaped. But it was the final page that sent a shiver through them all. A rough sketch showing the same symbols they'd followed, leading not just through El Capitan, but branching out into other peaks across Yosemite. Ethan and Jake hadn't just found a cave, they'd stumbled on something buried and kept hidden for generations. Luis, listening over the radio, urged them to bring it down carefully. But as Maya folded the paper, Leah noticed fresh footprints, leading deeper into the chamber, footprints that didn't belong to any of them. Someone else had been there, or maybe still was. Before they could react, a faint voice echoed through the tunnel, not on the radio this time, but somewhere just ahead in the dark. Adam swung his light toward the sound. There, standing half in shadow, was a figure in tattered climbing gear. Gear that looked eerily similar to the photos of Jake and Ethan from 3 years ago. But when the light hit the figure's face, the tunnel fell silent. It wasn't either of the missing men, but someone much older. His face weathered, eyes wild, clutching something wrapped in cloth. He whispered one word, "Leave." Then he turned and vanished into the dark passage behind him. The team stood frozen, the box trembling in Maya's hands. They had their answers, but also a chilling truth that El Capitan's secrets weren't lost to time. They were guarded, and whatever they'd just uncovered was never meant to see the light of day again. The team didn't chase the figure. Instead, they backed out of the chamber, the weight of the metal box heavy in their packs and heavier on their minds. The tunnel seemed tighter on the way out, the carved symbols flickering in their headlamps like silent eyes watching every step. When they finally stepped back onto the ledge under the night sky, the granite walls felt different, no longer just stone, but a keeper of stories that didn't want to be told. Back at base camp, Luis met them with a lantern in hand. Maya handed him the box and the journal scraps, her fingers trembling. They sat by the fire until dawn, piecing together what Ethan and Jake must have found: an old stash of maps and markings from miners, or maybe explorers, who'd discovered natural tunnels inside El Capitan centuries ago. Whatever secrets they held were never meant to be found again. The footprints, the stranger deep in the rock, proved that some part of that history was still alive or being protected by someone who'd given up everything to keep it hidden. In the days that followed, the Park Service quietly sealed off the tunnel's entrance. Officially, the final report called Ethan and Jake's deaths a tragic accident, buried under rockfall while trying a dangerous off-route climb. But the climbers who'd seen the chamber knew the truth was bigger than that. That El Capitan, one of the world's greatest climbing wonders, still holds parts of itself that can't be mapped or measured. The story of Ethan and Jake left behind a quiet warning for every climber who dares its walls. Some summits aren't just about reaching the top. Sometimes the real danger lies in what waits hidden inside the stone and what it asks you to leave behind.